Ghost Coat Magazine is honored to be joined once again by Barney Greenway of Napalm Death. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks. Thanks very much. Can't complain, to be honest with you.
I'm pleased that you can't complain. It's as I said before we started, a crazy time in all of human history. And I sincerely, first, right off the bat, because I don't want to lose the human touch of these things, is I hope your family as well, all your conspirators, your friends, peers, tour people, you're about to go on tour. And I just hope that in general, it's been a very rough couple of years for any working musician. And I hope you guys are all in one piece as much as can be.
Yeah, I'm all right, man. I must be honest, I've spoken about this quite a lot, because it happened that our album came out, sort of pretty much halfway through the whole thing. So I've spoken about it quite a lot. To be honest with you, I kind of made my peace with it quite early on. I could see it was going to develop into a pretty serious situation. So I kind of stepped back and I assessed, my own sort of life in front of me and for the immediate future. And yeah, I just had to make some major adjustments. Once I'd done that and it was firmly implanted in my mind, I got through it pretty okay. I kept myself physically active, and I just kind of put my head down and went through it. It helped not having any dependence. I live alone for the time being, so for me it was not so bad. But I do understand obviously that people with dependents and that have families around them and stuff, I do understand it was not an easy time, so
naturally. And yeah, my also first instinct was, obviously there's like a nihilism part of me that's like, of course the earth is trying to get rid of us, and then there's another part of me that's like, oh my gosh, the loss of human life and how terrible, we need to take care of each other, which kind of goes against, I don't know why caring goes against being a metalhead, but people have said that to me, that maybe my values are askew, but I don't think so.
I don't get how people can instantly jump to that conclusion.
I agree.
There's no correlation there.
No, we need to take care of each other. And you judge a society. I was always raised to believe that you judge a just society on how you take care of its weakest and most in need members, and not this gatekeeping stratosphere bullshit that we continue to do politically and personally. And so it's been wild. And of course, when it comes to our world leaders doing the right thing and getting out in front of this thing and protecting us and taking care of this, they failed miserably across every party, across every affiliation. They all sucked at it mostly. Then we sort of figured it out too late, but it seems like we're making some progress now. Obviously we can get some shows and tours to happen within reason, and I'm super excited for Napalm Death and GWAR. What a perfect pairing, and what like the tour we needed coming back from this abyss.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'd say it's obviously it's something different for us, but we've got a history of doing different things, in different genres. So it'll be interesting to see how we are received, because I would have thought mainly it's going to be obviously people that would ordinarily go to see GWAR. So I'll be interested to see how we come across, because we're going to play to our strengths. We're going to play at full pelt noise attack, and that's the long and short of it, So.
Yeah, I think it's a great pairing. And I know that, obviously, like at first glance or first thought, GWAR doesn't come to mind as this, they're a satirical band. They're obviously got a huge comedy element to them, but they have been, they come from the punk scene originally, just like very similar roots to Napalm Death, even though musically different paths. And so I think it's like on a mental level, on an intellect level, there's going to be a lot of matchups there for fans, and the should be a similar mentality among the fandoms.
Yeah, I mean, Napalm definitely does satire, it's very serious, but we also do a lot of satirical, kind of, I guess, euphemistic kind of stuff, in the art of it, so yeah, there are definite similarities, for sure.
Right on. And of course, the current band guys are all very astute, even when they're not bleeding and peeing and coming on everybody and pissing on the world and
Sure.
chopping world leaders in half on stage.
Yeah.
And Brocky, rest in peace, was a genius at this stuff. He was super politically active and deeply had no faith in our leadership. Anyway, even actually just got a note. Weird, social media is very weird. I just got a notification that like 10 years ago today was my last interview with Dave. So I was like, we were like getting drunk at the Worcester Palladium when I lived in the Boston area.
Right.
And we spent the whole interview actually not as odorous, talking just to Dave and Keith and talked about
Sure.
art and politics and protesting and all kinds of shit and just subversive art and literature and all the shit that he was into. And I think he would love to have been around for this tour because I'm pretty sure you guys, like I said, would have been great minds meeting.
Well, life catches up with people, and you just never know, when you're going to, when your vital systems are going to shut down, so it's one of them, I mean, I can't remember. I when he died, I do remember why he died, but I can't recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, 53 is too young for anybody to go leave us. So yeah, very sad. But in any case, this tour is going to be epic, and I think Eyehategod is on some of these shows.
Yeah, they are. They're on all of it.
They are. They're on the whole tour.
I believe so. I might be wrong, but as far as I
double check. But they had a recent album not too long ago, when I know they're working on new stuff. So always, again, three pretty smart bands for pretty cultured and smart fans. It'll be fun. It'll be loud and noisy and violent, perhaps. And
not violence for the sake of being violent.
No, yeah, of course. But all the emotions, we're gonna get them out because we've been all holding back. I said that even just going to the bar or the pub, right, was gonna be just like when we could finally go do that again. We're gonna like fall into a puddle of joy because people have been repressed.
No, it's I mean, it's a strange feeling for us too, because we've only done 2 shows, over the last, since the end of March 2020, so it's going to be a strange old thing for us. I'm glad we got those 2 shows in, because it kind of mentally speaking for myself, reintroduced me again to the spontaneity of what Napalm does on stage, so because the first gig we did, I get stage fright anyway. I always have had it, all the time, but I was extra on pins, because I was like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? It's just a bit like that. It might sound odd to some people, but that's the way. I get very super nervous energy, before I go on stage. So,
is it an anxiety about performance, or is it just like, is the gear
I think you know what? It's an anxiety that I'm going to go on stage and not make it the best that it could be for my part of the combined effort, of the people that are in the band. And I think I've just got a fear of that. It's irrational, of course, but it's always there with me. I've never been able to shake it off, so.
Fair enough. I think every artist goes through that. That's not a solo experience. That's a generalized anxiety that every performer has, of course, when you go on stage and you have a standard.
I don't know. I've seen some people go on stage without a shred of that. You know what I mean? Quite a few people, actually. I'd say it's actually 50-50, So.
Fair enough. I can relate. One of that second performance was at the Decibel Metal and Beer Fest, which had been postponed, but you guys played an unbelievable set of your first 2 records, which had to be like quite a treat for the fans. What was it like for you and the band?
It was a funny old thing. I mean, obviously not the first 2 in the Napalm history, but the first 2 when the era when I joined the band. It was a strange old thing, because I've always been, Napalm's pretty contrarian, as bands go. And the idea of doing legacy sets really just doesn't appeal to us, because our thinking is, I always see bands that do that. You see it a lot on European festivals. And I've always thought to myself, why are you doing that? You can play some of those songs in the set, but you've got albums up to the here and now, you know, so why'd you, and I never quite understood it, you know. And it, to me, a legacy set a little bit carries the potential of being a bit robotic, you know what I mean? Because it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to explain it really down to the fine details, but, you know, that's what I was worried about the Napalm one, that it might become a bit robotic, you know, but it didn't. And I must say that I actually really enjoyed it, you know. I mean, Utopia Banished album, which is half of the set that we played, you know, I really love that album when we made it at the time. Harmony Corruption I struggle with, which is ironic because for a considerable percentage of people that like Napalm Death, that's their favourite album, you know. I've always struggled with it, you know. The production to me is just not as it should be, you know. It's too thin for me. I think for me joining the band and that incarnation of the band, we were very much still finding our feet. So that's why for me, Utopia is a much better album, you know, in terms of the rawness of it and the attack, you know, of the art, yeah, of the music. So yeah, it's a funny old thing. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure about it when it was first suggested to us, you know, by Albert from Decibel. I was like, I don't know about this, you know. But he kind of twisted our arm. But I'm glad we did it in the end. You know, it was a unique experience for me, you know, and I'm obviously for the people that were interested, you know. So
right. And Decibel Metal Beer Fest Philly, there's another one coming up in Los Angeles, but these are very rare shows. These are very special shows. Albert curates these, you know, festivals. He's like, I almost kind of made the magazine so I could have my own festival someday.
Yeah, of course he can. He could do what the fuck he wants, you know.
Yeah, we love Albert here. I'm a fan, and you know.
Interestingly, I haven't had any feedback since the gigs. I haven't really seen any because I'm not on social media or anything like that, so I didn't really speak to it. So I don't know how people liked it or didn't like it. I don't know, you know.
I had some spies there. We didn't cover it for this year, but I had some spies in the room who told me it was wonderful. So, but especially when you have like Converge and Pig Destroyer also doing really celebratory things. And like you said, it's not that you guys are not nostalgic, but just like it does seem, you know, I just saw Metallica do the Black Album, and they've been doing it. They've done it in the past. They did it for a whole tour once. They break it out every once in a while. They do a full album playthrough, and you know they're Metallica, and I think that's what fans want: some kind of some bon mot thrown to them. But like, you know, obviously, you know, Napalm is a different animal and has a lot to say. That's not just relying on a classic album, but it was very sweet. I mean, you know, I think people saw that bill and saw those three bands at the top doing very rare things, and I think it makes it very special.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. So yeah, now we have the GWAR tour, and I imagine we'll be back to the standard set, and you really never got to tour behind your brand new album. Finally, we'll get to have these throws of joy in the jaws of defeatism songs.
Yeah,
it's a mouthful to say.
We're gonna do basically we've got a 40 to 45 minute set, so we're gonna knock out a good 6 or 7 songs within that from the new album, and the rest will be across all the, you know, all the eras of Napalm Death, you know. So it'll be breakneck, breathless, fast, furious, noisy, chaotic, all the old adjectives, you know, about Napalm Death. So it'll still be that. You know, the time away hasn't taken off the edges, you know. So it'll be as people would think it would be, you know. So
I imagine all the instruments and the minds will be sharp as swords because, you know, just raging to get out and do it. I'm sure it was cathartic to finally get once the show was done. I'm sure you felt really good about it. Yeah, it's been wild. There's some, you know, it's just really, I went 500, not to whine and cry when people have died and lost their whole lives and everything. I'm not that narcissistic, but for me, I used to go out like 5 nights a week to see live music. It was my whole life. And I went like 511 days without a show. I'm sure you went longer without playing the show.
Everybody had their own points of reflection, you know, during this time. So, yeah, you know, you're not being dismissive of people that died too.
Never. We lost. I lost some people.
Your own issues with it.
Yeah,
that's perfectly natural, you know.
Yeah, we lost people. Even a beloved member of our staff for many years passed away recently. So just as we've all suffered losses, and my heart goes out to anybody who who's lost anybody or just lost their lives or their happiness during this thing, because this, our parents and grandparents definitely lived through worse and they didn't have these conveniences. I do feel like sometimes we're a little soft as a generation, or the last bunch of generations were kind of soft a little. This is something anybody would have a hard time enduring. This is insane.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I don't think we're soft. I think the world moves in different ways, and I would actually argue that a softer world is a better world in a lot of ways,
For sure. This is a person who's thought a lot about the human spirit and freedom and anarchy and, unrest and, kind of revolutions of the self and society. Why do you think people are like making the pandemic and personal, like their personal freedom somehow should come above the safety of the group of all of us? Like, why do you think that's the hill people want to die on? I wanted to ask you this question.
I don't know. I think people have their own reasons, and I don't want to be sniffy or elitist about this, because everybody's entitled to their own perspective, But I will say one thing, that it has exposed some things of, as you point out, the lack of regard for other people around you, not just yourself. If you're in a more physically advantageous position, to kind of disregard other people around you that are not in that position, I think is pretty unfortunate, to say the least. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what more to say about that, really. I find it disappointing, that it's almost like the strong need to survive in this situation, and not the weaker can just deal with it and lock themselves away. I'm a Darwinist of sort, but I'm definitely not a social Darwinist. There's a distinct difference. We have control over these mechanisms. We can, or at least we can attempt to have control by doing as much as we can to ensure the welfare of others. That to me is an important thing, and it's kind of something that underpins Napalm Death is understanding that the only way the human race can move forward is together, not separated.
Indeed. And I feel like we're more polarized than ever. We certainly are here in America, more polarized than ever. And it's wild that there's no discourse at all. It's just kind of like there's no discussion. There's no debate that is civil. It's all like you're wrong and I'm right. And even on, the people, I don't expressly hang out or talk to people who agree with me. I wouldn't want a mirror image of me. I like debate, I welcome intellectual debate about things, even things that I feel deeply in my soul about, politically or personally, that I'm very passionate about. I don't even hide it. I actually don't even hide it with Ghost Cult, much to the chagrin of some of our fans, that I'm very left wing and I don't care and I never will back down from that stance. But also, if you just choose to never listen to anyone else, if you just ostrich your head into the sand, you are never going to understand why the other side of an idea or a topic or a belief system believes the opposite of you. You're never going to.
No, I mean, we're all susceptible to digging our heels in at any point in our lives, really. It's part of the human condition. It's almost incurable in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I have friends that are not necessarily polar opposites of me, but we diverge, in some places, and that's fine. I don't have to always agree with them to not consider them a friend. Do you know what I mean? I don't cut myself off from people just because they don't run in tandem with me. It's not the way life goes. But then, of course, on the other side of things, when you're in situations when you need to forge ahead with something, you will come into conflict with people. That's inevitable, you know what I mean? So, unfortunately, you are never going to escape conflict in this life, But as long as we keep it in check and we don't allow it to get to the point where others are dying, for our differences, then that's the end point. That's how genocide has occurred down the ages.
Mhm.
That's how it starts,
Indeed. I always feel like we're at the precipice of like a domino push, man, across the board. And I just my how I was raised to fear oppressive, power hungry people and systems. But if you could overthrow or shut down one corporation out of all the horrible ones in the world, who's like the worst of the worst, or the that you would like to see cease to exist?
I don't think there's one you can pin down because they're all interconnected, so I don't think it's like whack-a-mole. I don't know if you know, it's like one, you put one down and the rest of them others become stronger, I could tell you groups of them, who I would like them to answer, for themselves. But I couldn't give you a specific one, because there's just too many for that, really. Let me think of one off the top of my head, one of the first ones really would be, and there are many now, so I can't single one out, but companies that manufacture weapons, this circular process of the arms trade. It's like, I never quite got, one thing that absolutely bemuses me is that, leaders of nations will argue for peace in the world and they'll trumpet that, when it suits them to look across the ocean. But then when it comes to curtailing the arms industry, they will always make a case for the arms industry within their own country that they know are selling weapons that are being used on defenseless people, throughout the world, wherever that might be, So that would be one of my first ports of call, if I was able to. I would completely dismantle the whole weapons industry. From top to bottom, from handguns right to the top, intercontinental ballistic missiles. I would scrap the whole industry,
It's a good place to start, let me tell you.
Yeah.
As we start to wind this down, I want to give you back your day. You've been terrific. Obviously, we're very pumped for this tour. In the meantime, I know you are not on social media. You're not a fan. What have you been doing?
No. Let me pull you up on that, Keith. It's not that I'm not a fan of it, or I'm intimidated by it. It's just I don't have the time. I would have actually no issues going onto social media and being present on there and intercepting stuff. It's not a problem for me. I can deal with it mentally, So I just want to state that doesn't mean, of course, to say that I am sympathetic to the big social media companies, because I think they're very double standards. They have massive double standards in the way they operate, and there's another conversation in itself, But the raw concept of social media, I think it's a good thing. And actually, in one sense, I think that it's one of the last bastions of uncontrollable dialogue, and I think we should be cautious, before we completely, lock it up, with padlocks, virtual padlocks,
Yeah, I don't want to see, I'm a big believer in freedom. I don't want to see hate speech protected or flourishing,
No.
But I think free thought is important. I feel like you would be a natural for a Discord or a Reddit or an Ask Me Anything environment, because I think you have a lot to share and a lot to give, and people would love to hear from you on a variety of topics like I have today. Luckily, it has its place. I work in media and marketing when I'm not doing Ghost Cult, and like I said, I feel kind of like a sellout on a lot of days. I'm good at what I do, and I have to survive, and I live in the most expensive city in America, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make it, fake it till I make it.
Like totally, yeah. I will say one thing. I struggle with the concept of, of course, I abhor the actions that if you like fascistic ways can lead to. But I still have this thing in the back of me that to shut it down, to drive it underground, to basically strike it off platforms, I don't know whether that's necessarily a good thing. You can be completely against something that's said there, but should it not be there at all? I'm not sure about that. I still haven't really found the answer to it,
Good one. Just as a closing note, have you wondered, like, during the lockdown or whatever, had you read any good books? Anything you can recommend? Any good films?
Well, I'm
Documentaries?
actually reading a book written about Khrushchev right now, the Soviet leader, and
Yeah,
I'm
of
not
course.
joking. It's like, if you can tell, it's like that thick. You know what I mean? Because I'm kind of an amateur, very amateur Soviet historian. I'm just fascinated by that period. You know, before people start throwing the communist arrows at me, I'm not, actually, for the record, but I love that period. That the whole idea of locking people down, not only physically but psychologically, is fascinating to me. You know, it really is. You know, plus the aesthetics of that period. You know, the architecture, all the differences. You know, from the Western society, really interests me. And so I found this in a charity shop. You know, I found this, Khrushchev book, and it's great. You know, I've just started reading it, so I'm pretty pleased that I picked it up for next to nothing. You know, so
Nice. I'm a big fan of thrifting and finding books
yeah.
to reclaim as mine. Khrushchev banged on a desk with his shoe, and Barney Greenway yells into an electric stick in front of people. Again, it's always an honor and a pleasure to hear from you, my friend. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the tour with GWAR. Once again, throes of joy in the jaws of defeatism. I had to read
It's a
it twice.
long-winded title.
It's a
probably
good
got
title.
a cue card there.
If you've missed this album, I can't recommend it highly enough. Like the entire Napalm Death catalog. Thank you, Barney. Thanks for hanging out with Ghost Cult. I deeply appreciate you. We'll catch you on tour with GWAR.
Okay, all the best. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.